Hey guys, welcome to another live call here Saturday morning live. I haven't watched Saturday Night Live in a while, but this is Saturday Night Live is fun. But Saturday morning live, we're going to talk about real estate investing, real estate wholesaling. If you guys are new to the business, new wholesalers, new real estate investors, this is for you. We'd love to grow our channel, so if you guys want to help us grow our channel, Wholesaling Houses Now, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Just give us a like, subscribe, and share, and comment, right? That's how you help us grow. Thanks for your support. And also, I'll be putting some, actually, I have a lot of stuff out there, a lot of really awesome content. So if you guys want to check that out. And also, if you want to stay till the end of this video, I always say it's going to be 5-10 minutes, but it's a little longer sometimes. But if you guys want to stay till the end of this video, I'm going to show you three steps of getting into your first deal, or if you're starting out, getting to wholesaling. But the last step is going to be awesome. I'm going to show you how to make an extra. I'm going to show you how to make $1,000, not a minute, less than a minute, $1,000 a minute. Selling properties, selling wholesale properties. So let's get started here with the pillars for wholesaling, for real estate investing, really. The first one is marketing, right? You guys know that any business you go into, you need to have marketing. People need to know about you. You need to tell people what do you do. And that's just the rule of business, right? Marketing. So that's super important. The best marketers are successful in any business. Right. The second thing is structuring the deals. Actually, the second step is acquisition, and that's the part where it's super important. That's the part where most people have some challenges on, because there's a lot involved. Right. When we deal with distressed properties, that second part is super important. That's what makes or breaks those investors, and we'll touch on that. The acquisition part. The last part is the selling part. Right. The selling part is also super important, because if you don't have anything to sell, how are you going to make money, right? So the better you are at selling, or the better the deal is, the easier it will be, and the most money you'll make, the more money you'll make. So let's get started. I'm going to share with you some tips that I've used that's worked for me, and that so every step here, the 3 steps I'm going to share with you, I'm just going to tell you some awesome things. So if you guys want to write it down. I'll try to go a little slower than usual. This is somewhat impromptu, so I'll just tell you some of my real deals where you guys can kind of do some of the things that have worked. And some of the things I do work in most markets. Just like wholesaling houses now is wholesaling houses in any market. Now it could be 10 years ago, it could be 10 years from now, 5 years from now. So I've wholesaled 30 years ago when I started, and 20 years ago, 10 years ago. And wholesale is always available, always around, but sometimes it's a lot easier than other times, depending on the market, right? So that's what you want to work on. But the more you know, the more you get trained, the more experience you gain, the easier it will get for you to make as much as you can, just like this deal I'm going to share with you. So let's get started with the marketing part. Super important. If you guys, this is the easy part, right? And sometimes you can do things with no money. The marketing part is easy, because if you guys go out there to get leads, you can drive around like an hour. You can get 5 to 10 awesome potential deals. So that's okay. A lot of people do postcard mail outs. A lot of people in real estate investing, they do a lot of different things. And what my advice for people is to see what's going on in your market. I tell people to stay local, which is easier to handle, easy to manage, easy to control. With all my market strategies, I just go to a couple of subdivisions, like maybe one city, and there's like 4,000 properties, and sometimes that's enough for me, right? So if I only have half an hour a day, or a couple of hours a week, it's easy to go and just manage your area, your subdivision, or ideally closer to you. So as far as marketing, we've gone through so many markets, and I can tell you right now what's working might be things online in your market, right? You got to kind of do a little research on that and see the people that are buying in your market and see what's happening, right? And I do a couple of areas now, and the one area I do, it's good online. Online is good, and of course that costs some money. But my other market, which is just west of a main road, pretty close market, other things work in that market. So for example, I do, let's say, I'm just going to give you one of the go-to strategies that if you're not getting a property, you can always go to your two strategy, right? So for example, other than some postcards, other than some referrals and all this stuff, like one of the things that I've done to, like my go-to strategy that works most of the time in most markets would be, let's say the one, I'll tell you two, like one of them, let's say not too long ago, worked real well, and it's some bandit signs, right? So do the bandit sign campaign, and you do, and I used to measure all this. So let's say if you do some bandit signs, which is amazing, it took us almost about a couple hundred, like 180 signs to get a property. When we measure, it's right around 200. So that was good. We need to get a house ASAP this week. So this is what you do sometimes. Now, my other go-to strategy that worked real well, and it works especially if you have a lot more to offer your seller. Let's say my other great strategy as far as marketing would be doing some flyer delivery, flyer like door-to-door, delivering flyers. So that was my go-to strategy, and there's a system to that. And it works so well because, let's say I had my 4,000 homes, and if you pay someone 10 cents per house, that's like $400. So everyone got my flyer in the neighborhood, and I always would buy, I would get so many calls, I would buy one house, one awesome deal as I did that strategy. So in your market, for your market today, you got to find out what works best. There's so many strategies, and before you start spending a lot of money, I would say to kind of work on finding out the strategies that are working in your market now, that are working in your market now. So marketing is super important. There's so many ways of reaching the people you target audience, your people you want to reach, and sometimes what you want to think of is how much am I spending and how much am I getting. So that's why things like bandit signs, you're spending 99 cents and you're reaching out like hundreds and thousands of people per day or per weekend. So that makes sense. Now, flyers or door-to-door, like hangers, whatever, things like that, you're reaching out every single, that's like our targeted market, we're just targeting it per house. And you're reaching out, could be a huge return on that, because instead of sending 400 mail-outs, that's going to cost you like 5 times more, or even postcards. It's going to cost you a lot more than just doing this door-to-door advertising, let's say. That was my go-to. And in my market, that works a little bit not as good as, maybe a year ago. So, but it still works because I have more to offer sellers now. So it makes sense for me to do it, because one of the things I have to offer people is, if you don't want to sell it to me cheap, sell it to me for terms. And one of the things I offer in this hot sellers market, or in whatever market, I just offer people to try to list their property, because we have ways of making as much as you can with listing their property, right? Just so an idea of what you guys can kind of look into offering people, and as far as your marketing, because sometimes people are getting a lot of marketing, so you have to stand out, right? This is what we talked about recently, your USP, your unique selling proposition. Like, why are you different? Why should someone go to you and to sell you their property or to work with you and things like that? And one of the things that I tell people, if you can stay local, to meet sellers directly, sometimes that works best, because you're talking about a relationship, people with business, people they know, like, and trust. So if they're not if they're not meeting you or liking you or trusting you, sometimes a little harder to that kind of do things virtually. So the other thing I was going to tell you as far as marketing, if you guys want to keep in mind, what are you unique about? So let's say you speak a certain language. Let's say you're targeting certain ethnicity group, or let's say if you go to a church. I had one of the best ladies I worked with a while ago. she got a hold of, she used to go to this church, and she got hold of the pastor in the church and a couple of leaders, and they said, oh, that person's having issues. And she kind of took off her business, right? She came to me saying, you know, I have a daughter, I got to raise by myself, and she only has so much money to work with, and she started working with me. So that's kind of where I'm good at, finding what people's USP is, and they kind of take off from there. So it's an awesome strategy. Let's say if you go to some kind of social, if you have some groups, different groups that you join, you could be the go-to person in that specific group or neighborhood or whatever, right? So let's say my USP sometimes is people that speak Spanish. That's a done deal because we connect real well, and it's great. So for you, it might be whatever you think. That's what you got to really look into and kind of offer people something a little different. And all the marketing, for the most part, I tell people, give them something, like give them a cash reward or give them a picture. It'll be good. Some marketing, if you guys want to just put a picture there, that'll be awesome, because people can, you know, if they call on the phone, they don't know who to, you know, sometimes people picture in their mind, like, who am I talking to? But if they have a picture of you, could be any picture, you at least they'll know who they're talking to. Like in their mind, they don't have to wonder who you are. So they're like hesitating the whole time, right? So as far as marketing, that's one of the few things I can tell you for now in this quick live for the week. So I hope you guys comment or just let me know what you think of some of these strategies. I would say they work. There's so many more like go-to strategies that you would do depending on the market. And right now with online, things are a little bit different. So you have to be on top of your new strategies coming up. So that's the first part. The second part that I'm going to tell you about is the acquisition part, which is the most important part of the business, right? Sometimes people say, you know, I want people to do the marketing, I want people to do the acquisition. But the acquisition part, when you're negotiating with a seller, when you're structuring the deal, sometimes that could make and break the deal, or that could mean like a $5,000 deal or a $50,000 deal. So that's the part where you really need to be an expert on, because sometimes people say if they're doing virtual wholesaling or virtually deals, they can have boots on the ground, someone meeting the sellers. That's probably okay. But for the most part, if you want to get a deal, the 90% of you guys that I'm talking to now, 90% of you guys that haven't bought a property or like that really want your next deal, this is what I'm saying. You need to be an expert at putting deals together or like talking to people. My mentor used to say like the highest paid profession is wobbling your tongue, right? Where you kind of really, whatever comes out of your mouth makes you a lot of money. So that's why sometimes when people delegate that part, what would they need you for, right? Sometimes I think if you do delegating the acquisition part, they're really selling that person the property. So if they're working for you, I mean, it could work if you're doing volume or if you're doing virtual wholesaling. But I would say if you haven't bought a property yet or a house yet, or if you really want your next deal, I would say you are the go-to person. You are the leader, you're the owner of the business. Like you need to get more training or more knowledge on structuring deals where the sellers get what they want, so they can, so you guys can do a win-win, and you can do an awesome deal where you can make a lot of money on. So the acquisition part is super important. I would say if you get anything out of this video, just understand that there's more than one or two ways of buying a property, and the more ways that you can kind of offer your seller, the better, right? So that's what I'm talking about here. I can tell you many examples of deals, but I can tell you my go-to strategy when I talk to a seller, just because I know, and I just want to go right to the point, and I don't spend a lot of time with sellers, but I want a free house. Like I want to say, I don't want to pay you cash. That's not a strategy. I don't even offer cash, because my cash offer is going to be at 50 cents on a dollar or much less. My cash strategy is going to be much less. So what I do is I want to offer that seller my sub two, my it's not a sub two, it's not a creative strategy. It's more like, what's your need, and I can do that today, right now. I can do that. So my sellers I target, typically I want them to maybe sign the property over to me, and I give them what they want, which is sometimes a little bit of cash, sometimes it's whatever amount, and it's a done deal. And that could happen so quickly, guys have no idea. You don't need contracts, you don't need HUDs. Sometimes things happen very quickly. You just have to know, right? You need good people in your team, like some title companies or attorneys, that they're ready to help you kind of go through that process. But that's just my go-to strategy. Now, your strategy you might want to buy a rental, or you might want to buy a fix and flip. So that's a little different. But I'm saying you work on having a go-to strategy that would work for you, and then you can offer your sellers often, right? You can offer sellers often, and that you're ready to do that strategy as far as the negotiating, the paperwork, and everything else, right? So super important to know that acquisition part, or that negotiating part, or like getting the right paperwork going, and with that seller, and the timing too. And I can give you an example of a deal this week, and a lot of people bring me leads and deals, and I can tell you sometimes when the seller is in control, it usually doesn't turn out to be a good deal. This is this week. This is like days ago. Someone that comes to my meeting, they send me leads and they want some help, right? So, and they're not working with me specifically. So what I tell them is, this guy called me, and he says, "Oh, I'm going to see this property tomorrow at 10 o'clock." And I said, what's the asking price? Like, the guy's super motivated, but he doesn't have an asking price. He's like, "You need to see the house and give me an offer." Now, this is typical. Now, I said, number one, you need to do the deal over the phone before you spend like half a day driving around town going to meet a seller that you might not buy the property on. So what you can do in this case, is ask on the phone if they have an idea of the price, right? So you'll know if you're going to close that deal or not. You only meet people when you're going to close the deal. So for now, I can tell you, the guy that called me on this lead, he was also very concerned about the pool. The house needed some work, basic work, but the pool was in real bad shape. So he's like, "Oh, my numbers aren't working." And I said, the work on the property has nothing to do with you closing that deal today, or buying that property. So turns out, and he kept asking about the repairs, and I'm like, look, repairs are kind of important, but not as important as you getting that seller to sign, getting committed to sign today. And you got to be a little more in control of that. So the ARV on this property was around 450. And after the appointment and everything else that he was making, I said, look, get an idea what he's asking. So he's asking 430. So it's worth it. The ARV is 450, and then he's asking 430, but he's willing to negotiate. So this is really the seller being in control, which is not a good seller already. And I can tell you, I can save you a lot of time and money and energy by having to meet the person when you're not working out a deal on the phone, right? Because at the end of the day, really, we buy numbers. We buy numbers, and as far as the cash offers, and unless you buy in terms, but that's one of the strategies you can offer the seller. But as far as the cash offer, because I think the house is vacant and it's a nice area, and it just needed work. It was livable, but it did need a lot of work. But my point is that sometimes you don't need to know about the repairs so much. What you want to know instead is where is this guy's mind? Where is the seller's mind, right? Where is the seller's mind as far as how quickly do they want to sell? Do they want to sell today, or this week, or this month? And then you don't really do a lot until they're kind of ready to sell, right? As far as acquisition and buying, negotiating, being kind of in control, because you're coming in there to fulfill a need, and this seller is calling you because you did marketing to them, or somehow they know that you're going to solve their problem, right? So maybe the seller's problem from last few days, maybe they weren't strong enough. Maybe he was only at 2 out of 10 on motivation. And this is what we talked about last week, I think, where you want your sellers to be at a 7, 8, 9, 10 of motivation, ready to go. If not, you right away know that that's just like a follow-up property. Maybe a couple of weeks, maybe 30 days. But you have to be consistent on following up, right? But at the same time, the house is empty, sitting there, needing work. He's not able to rent it, just sitting there. So that doesn't help him. That doesn't help anybody that he has an ugly vacant house. So at the end of the day, this guy that called me on that lead, he went to see it, and he sent me all these pictures. I'm like, we don't need to know all these pictures. We don't care, right? We only buy if they were looking for cash specifically. We want to be at 65%, just like the old days. Like when I started 30-something years ago, we have this ARV formula that, depending on the market, it changes, right? Like my formula, my ARV formula is usually 50%, and I don't care about the work on a property, right? At 50%, right around, could be 55%, could be 45% or less. I don't mind how the work on the property. That's kind of my mindset as far as getting a deal done today or this week or talking to the right sellers. So I hope you guys got that, how I think a typical new investor kind of struggles with the repairs, which is not as important. It's great to find houses that need a lot of work, but you hope that that seller is ready to go, ready to sign a contract with you like today, right? So as far as the acquisition part, there's few things that you have to kind of understand, which is timing, the seller's desperation, the house needing repairs. That's no big deal because our formula is really 50%, 55% or less. So you're going to buy them really cheap anyway. So I hope you guys so far are getting some things out of the video. The last part I want to tell you really quick is the marketing part. The selling part, which is important for your business, because how are you going to make money if you don't have anything to sell, right? And real estate investing is one of those businesses where you can control something that you can sell for like very little. Like I want to say $1,000, $500, or even $10, right? So you can control a property for whatever days or a week, and then you can sell that paperwork, right? You can control the property by having an agreement, and you have the legal agreement, legal right. You have an equitable interest in that property, which means that you could do whatever you want with that property for a whole week. Let's say if it's 7 days, right? You have some inspection period, or you have to do a due diligence period with that seller. You can say subject to my partner's approval. You don't have to inspect it, because sometimes you're buying it as is. So you can say subject to whatever approval. You can say subject to my dog's approval, right? I don't know if my dog would like this property, or my attorney's approval, or whatever. You can say I'm buying it as is. I saw the property. I'm just putting subject to my attorney reviewing, whatever. But the point is, you're buying a little bit of time, and see if it'll work for you, or if not, you can maybe try to wholesale that property. So that's the beautiful thing about real estate investing or wholesaling, where you can do that, and a lot great could happen from that. So what else? So real estate investing, and you guys are here because you know that it definitely, you love the business because you can make so much money, not only $5,000 or $10,000, you can make much more, but you have not much into it. So that's the great thing about what we do. So I told you I would tell you a deal on how to make $1,000 a minute. And I can tell you many things about selling properties. I mean, if you're starting out, I would say just try to co-wholesale. There's a lot of investors that have lots of buyers. They're stable. They've been wholesaling every day, night for many years. And sometimes, as a side secret, I can tell you some of the best wholesalers are the ones that work closely with title companies, and they have access to a lot of things that fall apart or the need or whatever, and they have access to a lot of buyers, right? So I do the same. Like I've worked very closely with title companies, and of course the deal falls apart. Guess who they're gonna call? Guess who's the next go-to person? You are, and you have to build up to that, your reputation. You have the volume of properties you do and all that stuff. But if you deal with a stable wholesaler, that's all they do. They've been doing it for a long time. Those are good. If you're starting out, that would be the fastest way to get your paycheck, as you're getting started. The second way I would tell you to get buyers, I don't know, so many things I can tell you, but one of the things that worked for me not too long ago, when there was a lot of properties that would come on market, And this happened by accident. There was a vacant house or a vacant lot in a corner. And in the middle of the block, there was, and I always said, house for sale, or I buy houses, my marketing, my bandit signs, let's say. And a fantastic deal came on market, like 4 houses down, 4 houses down from this one property. And you know what? I had no idea why I was getting so many calls. And it was because this property that came on market at a great price was like 3 houses down, and they would see my sign on another house that needed work that said house for sale, or I buy houses, or something like that. I think it said, for sale by owner or something like that. It was a house I was managing or maintaining, or just a random vacant house. So what happened is, everyone that came to see that one property that was listed, they saw my sign, like bright yellow sign. And so I was getting all these calls after calls. And I'm like, what's happening here? So I figure that, and sometimes I do that, not a lot, but that's a great way to build up your cash buyers list really quick. So as far as selling properties, I can tell you that one of the last things I'll tell you, because this happened a little while ago, when I had a property for sale. Sometimes I don't tell people an exact price. If I have a great deal, I want to get as much as I can for that property, but I didn't know at the time. This is a little while ago. So I had this property. Let's say I was asking $99,900, pretty much $100,000, and I had 2 solid buyers offering me exactly that much. And then they were mad at me because they both called me around the same time, within seconds apart, and they both like, I'll take that property, I'll meet you, or send me or let's just meet up, like right now. And I'm like, I didn't know what to say. And these are good, serious buyers that I was dealing with. So what I've learned is this relates to the next example I'm going to tell you real quick. And I started saying, you know what, I'm just going to say I like an offer in the high 90s at that point, mid to high 90s. And then the guys that were trying to buy my property at that point, they can just tell me what number would work for them. Now this works if you have a great deal, if you're in control of the property. So then I started using that strategy, and it worked really well for me, where you don't tell, my asking price is not so much. Sometimes I just have like a little idea of what I'd like to get, right? Because if 5 people want the property and they want to bid, buy for a little more, I can sell it and make more money, right? Sell it to the highest buyer that wants it. So here's the example. Here's how you guys can make $1,000 in a minute. Instead of making $10,000 on a wholesale deal, you guys can make $25,000 on a wholesale deal. So here's an example, and this is a real example. So I had a property where you can only see it, let's say on a Tuesday at 11 a.m. or a Thursday at 11 a.m. And I was already doing a few deals. So I had this area, I had some buyers for this area that I kind of knew they bought properties from me before. And they were rehabbers, local rehabbers. So there was 2 or 3, and I said, one of them was 2 partners. And I said, look, you guys want this property, the ARV is $200,000. I'd like to get, let's say 100 for it. I'd like to get in the high 90s for it. And I'll meet you there at 11 o'clock. So I told 3 buyers that, and one of those buyers were 2 partners. So I go to the house, open the door for them. They all walk through the property in like a minute, and then they come out of the house. And the one guy's a little more aggressive. Let's call him Victor. The other guys were Chuck. Let's say Daryl, and the other buyer was like, let's say Tom. So, and this is what happened. This is how you guys can make $1,000 a minute just by getting creative on selling, right? Because you always want to get creative with everything. So I would have been happy with $10,000 because this deal's happened really quick. But I said, you know what? I can only bring the 3 of you guys. So I like to have, my asking is, I like to sell it in the high 90s. And everyone's looking at each other. I'm like, what do you mean high 90s? So the one guy's a little more aggressive. Let's say Victor, he says, oh, I'll like to buy it for high 90s. I'll just give you 98. And then the other guys started to look at each other, and they're like, all right, we'll do 99. And then Victor goes right away. He goes 1,000 more. And then the other guys look at each other. Tom, he's like, yeah, I'll do 102. And he could get going on. So it wasn't really $1,000 a minute. It was more like, $15,000 more within like a couple of minutes, right? So as the price was going up, Victor would start to go up a couple of $1,000 instead of $1,000 up. So Chuck and Daryl, I think, kind of gave up around 110 or 112 or 13, and Victor would just go up little chunks and like, I'll take it for 115. So, so this is how, and as the numbers were going up, I kept stepping back. I'm like, this is good. This is good. I see myself making $1,000 literally in like seconds, right? So this is because I had a great deal. It's worth 200. I got it for 90. It's worth 200. And I would have been happy with a quick 10 grand, right? Because it's assigned, few weeks done, and your job is done. So in this case, why not get a little creative? If you're working local, if you already have some of the cash buyers in that area, why not do your own auction, right? Do your own round robin, or do your own whatever strategy that you could kind of learn as you go. But I can tell you I have many strategies like that worked in a bigger volume. But in this case, Victor ended up buying this property for 115, and same thing, it's assignment. There's no secrets. They know it's making $25,000. And everyone's okay with it because they're getting a fantastic deal, right? And I almost could have made a little bit more, but to me, I'm so busy with deals. The faster I sell it to my buyers, the better. I have more time to go get more deals. So $25,000, or you want to make $10,000. So you guys, wholesaling is awesome because it happens quick. So your only job would be just to look for deals, just structure deals, find deals, get creative. If the market is tough, you just have to work a little harder, have to be a little bit better than your competitors, or you just have to work earlier, stay up later. And you guys know a lot of this stuff. You work on your mindset pretty much every day. Your mindset is super important. So for now, I can tell you on that deal, that was an amazing deal. So if you guys want to try it out, let me know. Right now, I'm that rehabber that buys from wholesalers, and I'm okay paying a little bit more than the next investor as long as the deal works for me. But it happens often, and that's why you guys can do that strategy in your next deal. And instead of making $5,000, you could really make $20,000. So as far as selling houses, that's the potential. Selling is super important if you guys get more familiar on that. And if you guys want more coaching or more, if you guys want to invest in my course, you guys let me know. Send me a DM, Wholesaling Houses Now. I have some training out there if you guys want to learn more on different creative strategies, advanced strategies. My wholesaling course is not just wholesaling. It's advanced wholesaling, but it covers many parts of the business, not just what we're talking about, but it's more specifics on dealing with sellers, because at the end of the day, you can be the best marketer ever, but if you don't know how to kind of close that deal now at the best strategy possible, then you're going to be going in circles and you're not really going to go anywhere. And there's a lot to all that, right? Because you need to know what market are we in, what's working the best, like where a seller's buying where. So as the market might change in the near future, you just anticipate, or you just got to learn, you just got to know more, a little bit more, just so you can have a solid business, like a sustainable long-term business. And it's not just wholesaling, right? My advanced wholesaling course, it has a lot of strategies on we're doing a deal right now. It's going to be an amazing deal. It's going to be a wholesale deal, right? Where we're not going to close this property. It's just creative, going to control it, put it back out there, clean it up, lipstick on a pig, put it back out for a nice profit. So you could do that. Yeah, that's not just wholesaling. That's wholesaling, which is you kind of retailing it, but you're wholesaling it. You can do rehabs. Like I have a lot of rehabbing stuff because I love rehabs. If you guys can buy a house for nothing, create a finance, and you can get a lender to lend you the rehab cost, why would you make $30,000 when you can make $150,000 or $100,000, right? Just by putting in $10,000 into the property. So rehabbing is awesome. So what I do is I teach people, right? Help people out with the best strategy for them, because you might have access to cash, or you might be able to get some cash. Why would you want to wholesale for $5,000 or $10,000 when you can do a couple of other little things and make triple, four times more, or $50,000 or $100,000 in the same deal, right? So there's a lot more to know and all that. So anyway, guys, share the video, like the video, and put comments out there for us. We love to grow our channel, and hope to see you soon. And let's get a house this week.